Welcome to the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast.
Hashtag hosts and the HQFM quiz and bingo software are proud to sponsor the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast. With HQFM quiz and bingo software, you can use this interactive quiz software at any venue. All you need is an internet connection. Go to hashtagquiz.co.uk for your free trial today.
Hello and welcome to Catherine Vandome and Me. I'm Catherine Vandome and I'm a stand-up comedian in recovery from very severe ME. I'm also a published author and my book is out now and it's called The Truth About Me by Catherine Vandome. And it's all about entertainment and health, just like today's podcast. And on that note, it gives me the greatest of pleasure to introduce a beautiful friend of mine who is a musical theatre performer, and she was in the original cast of Jekyll and Hyde the musical in Germany. It gives me the greatest of pleasure to introduce Joanna Kovats. Hello there, Jo. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you? So good to see you.
And you also. So you're over in Canada, is that right? Whereabouts are you, Jo?
I am very close to Vancouver in British Columbia. Yeah.
Lovely.
It's a beautiful place.
Wow. And you moved over there, didn't you, many years ago? Because
yeah.
If you want to share how we met, we were auditioning together, weren't we, in the West End? Is that right?
I think we met initially through my brother Anthony. And
Yes.
So you'd done a contract with Anthony, and then we were all on that same sort of auditioning stream back in the day.
We had some good laughs.
We did. It's like a million moons ago. It's like a few lifetimes ago now, because I've lived in Canada for 22 years now. Can you believe it?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And you've got your citizenship, haven't you, recently?
Yeah. Well, I've been a citizen for quite a few years now. Yeah. So I am a dual citizen. I have both my Canadian and British citizenships because it's really important to me to stay still connected to home, as I call it. You know, still the UK is my primary home. So, yeah.
That's amazing, because I remember you going off and I thought, oh goodness, don't go away forever, but you did, and I'm so pleased for you that you did, because you set up over there, didn't you, a beautiful family home with Justin and your two gorgeous children, who we'll hear a bit more about later as well. And as you've just explained at the beginning there, you are the older sister, can I say, of the lovely Anthony Bristow, who is very well revered over here, and particularly in London, and he's just incredible. And he and I were on the cruise ships together, as you said, and when we both got off the ships, we were then landed in London, and I think I was Neasden and you were Kilburn. Is that correct? Is that good
That's
memory?
Right. Yeah.
And,
well, we like to say West Hampstead. We were in between Kilburn Station and West Hampstead, so we always said West Hampstead.
Sounds a little bit posher, and because we were a hop, skip and a jump away, quite literally, it was perfect, and a friendship was born. And we had so many West End auditions together. We did a lot of treading the boards those early mornings, didn't we? It was a very exciting but also challenging time, because auditions can be quite challenging. I'm sure you're going to share a bit more about that in a minute. But just take us through your initial career. Obviously today you've gone into the holistic path, which I have as well, which is beautiful, but you also in your initial career as an actress, a musical theatre performer, you were always head and tails above so many. You were such a good dancer, Jo. You really, really were. You always wowed the crowds and seemed to get through each of the West End auditions I was attending. You did extremely well, and it was great to see. So you had this talent, and just take us through a little bit about what your job initially was, Jo.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate it, because you sort of forget these things, right? Yes, the audition process was never, ever fun for me. Like, I was very much, I seemed to be very outgoing, but I was very, very insecure. And so I did the audition process. I didn't really ever take the no's very well. And emotionally, it was very, very traumatic for me. But I guess I got lucky. You know, started my career just in doing contracts in Japan. I fell into that really easily with a really good friend of mine who got a contract, and she was like, "Hey, guess what? This is what we're doing." And I think that sort of gave me the courage to step forward, and we did those contracts for quite a few years, which was amazing. It was a wonderful experience. It got my foot out of the door from being home and just sort of adventuring by myself, and then coming back to the UK and really going back into the auditioning world. And I think I just got really lucky to land with a few theatre companies that I sort of just didn't have to keep auditioning for. You know, you do one contract and then you got another contract. So it made that life easier for me. Because the auditioning process was very hard, and it was not great for my self-esteem, which I think makes me such a good teacher now, because I bring all of these experiences that I had back then. Anyways, long story short, did lots of different contracts, you know, UK tours, contracts in Europe, and then I had listened to Jekyll and Hyde, become obsessed with the Broadway soundtrack. And then there was the Pineapple audition in London for the original German production. And I had no idea, never heard of any musicals in Germany. I knew they did them, but I had no idea the size of the musicals that they do in Germany. They've got an amazing budget. They have funding for musicals that I know now. So I went along to the audition for Jekyll and Hyde, and I just loved the musical so much, and I just knew. And at the same time, I was auditioning for Saturday Night Fever in the West End, actually. Yeah. And it was my dream to be on the West End. And I sort of had the auditions sort of side by side, and I got Jekyll and Hyde. And even though I thought everything I wanted was to be in the West End, I knew I had to go to Germany. Yes. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Like I say, the musical production in Germany is fantastic. Any budding artists out there, take a look at it. Maybe it's more well known now, but it's a really fantastic musical theater scene over there. And I was surprised when I got there. There were so many Americans and Canadians. Wow. And other people from all walks from different parts of the world actually working and living in Germany, because they had a better chance of getting into musicals in Germany than we did in the West End or Broadway, where they're saturated with so many talented performers, right? So, but the talent in Germany is fantastic too. Yeah. And so, I ended up being there just under 3 years, and did meet my husband while on vacation to Mallorca from Germany, and that's another story. Wow. And so that really was the start of your career. Life. Yes. A career and sort of the end of it too. And that's another story.
It was literally like a grand finale, like you say. But Germany, I also know the health side from Dr. Raymond Perrin, who's been treating my ME condition. In Germany, they are massively, hugely supportive of alternative healing modalities, which of course connects us on this channel and connects to your future career that you're doing today. And Germany has this incredible wisdom regarding the body and mind and the ability to heal in all these alternative fields, which is just also fabulous. So to hear from yourself, Joe, firsthand, that they also have this incredible theatre, and I've seen the photographs and I've seen little snippets, I think, of your videos and a montage of show reels from Germany, and the theatres are just out of this world. The theatre you performed in, as you say, the spectacle. So if anybody is auditioning in the West End, as we were, in fact, we did Saturday Night Fever audition together. I think that was one of our last ones, because obviously you then got that selection. That was a tough audition, that one.
Yeah. I remember it very vividly, because I did do well, and then it was very intimidating, because the person that was leading the dance call was very mean.
Yes, there was a voice from the back, I'll never forget, saying, "Could everybody get off the stage? And has anybody looked in the mirror recently?" And
that was it.
Yes. Wow. And I got to the side of the stage myself, and and I basically tried to support, because we were both in our early 20s, you see, so we'd already both worked professionally, and we were kind of used to the critique, let's call it, or insults.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of very young 16-year-olds at the time. So I remember stepping forward then in support of them. And I said, we shouldn't be judging people this way. We need to be a lot kinder in our manner. And I'll never forget that, because this courage just came out of this little body. And I said, we mustn't do this to each other. This is an open call, I think it was, and therefore there's going to be lots of different shapes and sizes, and it shouldn't be judged like this. Anyway, the person at the front shook my hand and said, well said. And after that, I got a pat on the back from every single dancer as I was leaving, but I was biting my mouth because I wanted to cry, because I'd also been part of the insults. We all had, almost. But this is kind of the types of things that can happen. And I would say to anybody, don't take anything personally. What doesn't break you makes you stronger. And I'm sure you would wholeheartedly agree with that as well. And just make sure you stick up for your fellow man, no matter what, because some of these circumstances can be quite trying. Would you agree?
For sure. And I think our worth as performers or creative artists is so attached to what other people think of us.
Yes.
And it's learning that it isn't at all. You're worthy just because you're here and you're you. But the way that we're brought up in the, especially the, performing arts, as it was then, it's very different now.
Yes.
As a teacher now, I teach that your worth is not attached to what you do at all. We should never be striving for perfection, because it doesn't exist. You can strive for excellence, but perfection doesn't exist. There's always going to be someone that does it better than you, and that's okay, right? And being okay with that. So there was a lot of learning in those years for me, and ultimately in my time at Jekyll and Hyde too, there was a lot of learning and growth, and ultimately a breakdown, because I thought I got to Germany. I was in the ensemble. It was a fantastic year. I loved the show. I met so many fantastic people. But the little girl in me was, finally I've made it, and finally everything is going to be right. Everything is going to be good, and it's going to be perfect, and I'm going to finally feel good in my own skin. And it doesn't. You make it. You get there, and you win. And that's the reflection of. It's not the external, it's the internal that we need to work on, right? 100%. And so if we're constantly looking to the outside for, approval and acceptance, we're never going to find it, because it's within. We have to learn to love ourselves. And that show, that journey really was the starting journey for my self-healing. And it's been a 30+ year journey that I'm still on every day.
Wow, Jo, and thank you for sharing that, because people tuning in will see a bright, vibrant, eloquent, beautiful lady before them, and they will think, well, she's got no problems, surely she's got it all, and she made it. She did the very thing that her heart wanted to do. But what you're saying is, actually, it's quite the opposite. What happened was, you got to the point, after all the knockbacks and all the things you and I went through together, you actually went on your journey, and you got to Germany, and suddenly that's when all the tower folded down. Is that kind of what you're saying? And all the cards crumbled, because you realized, okay, I'm now not feeling the way that I thought I would feel had I attained this vocation that we both so desperately wanted. And I absolutely I love how you've eloquently expressed that, because anybody listening can now understand, no matter how high up the ladder you appear to the outside to have climbed, it doesn't matter. And success is only relevant at that particular time anyway. And it's always, if you are a high achiever, as I was also, I'm afraid you've never made it, because you don't feel it inside. And I would say success is when you love yourself for who you are inside, and you're not expecting or waiting for validation from the outside. And it's actually exactly what you said, Jo, an internal feeling, healed from within, I call it. And that's when you can feel safe, and that's when you become your fully congruent self. Would you agree?
100%. I mean, I got there, and like the second year, I worked really hard to get Lucy, which is the lead female role, and I got it. And I thought, yes, this is it. I've got it. And that's when the crumbling began, because it was a real highlight of how much work I needed to do, because even though there I was singing all these beautiful songs on stage, my insecurity got me to the point where I couldn't even perform anymore, because I just never felt good enough. I was comparing myself to others, and there was some other political things going on. And I knew at that point, I'm like, okay, you need to step back. It's time to take a break, because the thing that you thought was going to give you everything that you would heal you is in fact doing the opposite. And that's no one's fault but mine, right? You know, it is what it is. But it was a real reflection on myself. And like you say, you know, my worth came from for many years, you're such a great dancer, you look this way, you're this, you're that. And I attached my worth and love to being that person.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't that person and didn't look like that person and didn't perform like that person, I wasn't worthy of love. And so if you take that away, what's left, right? And so I, as a teacher now, because I do teach now, which I'm so grateful for, I absolutely love it. And I think I did train as a life coach. I did similar, like you did your counseling. I did life coach because that was part of my healing too. Done a lot of work with Brene Brown, and just a lot of self-reflection. And now for almost 10 years now, I've been helping students with this, right? I've been sharing my story. And so all of these wonderful, talented human beings, they're, you know, making sure that they understand their worth isn't attached to it, like I said before. And that's why I've got such a passion for it. I love it so much. I love it.
And I think that's amazing. And you're not the first musical theatre performer to go on, to go on and teach and use those skills to go and help the younger children in the community. And that also exemplifies your very caring nature as well. All of your family, you've got a beautiful family. Anthony has a twin, your younger brother Simon as well, and you've also got Cara, who is, I think she's the eldest, am I right?
He is, by 15 months. We're 15 months different.
And your mum Jane, and she's also such a beautiful human being as well. You're blessed with a gorgeous family, and your father as well. Forgive me, what's your father's name?
David.
That's it, David. And so a great family, very confident, as you say, very confident perhaps on the outside, but underneath, all of us, in fact, often it's the most confident that are, what I call it, the duck legs are paddling behind, because I was the same, very confident exterior, and people just instantly think, well, they're all right, they're fine. But actually, you've got to unpack all of this, and eventually, I call it a mask that eventually just melts on your face, and the truthful Jo and Cathy then comes to the surface. And when you do go through that process, it's so liberating and freeing, because you are no longer worried, you're no longer living in fear, you're no longer concerned, as you said, about what everybody else thinks. You're more focused on your internal way of being and how you can help other people. You can more easily help and support somebody else if you've unpacked all your toys out the pram, as I call it. That's an obvious state of development. But I think that's amazing, Jo, that you've been able to share that today, because how many people watching will be able to empathize with that, young girls in particular, and thinking, well, I want to achieve that. And maybe Jo was happy because she achieved it. And what you're saying is it was actually irrelevant. And it was a nice thing to say that you had achieved and attained. But because you and I back then, we put all our eggs in the basket of this particular outcome. And then, as you say, once you get to a particular level, it doesn't matter anymore. Nobody cares as much as we did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And, it's yeah, just that having that own autonomy over your own performance and skill, and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about it. You're there because you love it, and
Yeah.
remember that. Come back to that. There's joy in this. We're so privileged, I think, to have that creative art in us, because I think people in the creative arts are connected to their heart, they're connected to their soul, and I think that's why we're so vulnerable to outside, digs or whatever, because we're so open. And then when I moved to Canada and got back into theater after I'd had my children, I just was performing from a different energy. I just was performing from that, oh my God, I get to do this again, this is so great. Right.
Yes. You
Yeah.
went back to
Instead
your
of,
roots. You went right back
yes.
to the childhood
Mm-hmm.
love, because Anthony,
Mm-hmm.
who's been on the channel already, shared how the four of you, how your mum dropped off the two girls, you and Cara, but then took the two boys to dance as well, which is fantastic. And basically you went right back to the reason that you fell in love with it in the first place, because the pressure was off. So it's almost
Yeah.
like the pressure cooker had literally flown off the top, and you suddenly were free again. Is that what I'm hearing?
100%. And then you remember why, and there's no like need for it anymore. There's a want, right? So there's a
Yes.
difference between needing something
Yes.
and wanting it, right? And it
Yes.
and wanting it for yourself and not for other people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also you're no longer acting, and then that's an enormous part of it as well. We have to be
Mhm.
pretty tough cookies to do the audition process. A lot of people are not quite aware of how difficult it can be. And I say a little bit about it in the book. Number 23, number 42, you stay behind, everybody else go home, and you've been there perhaps all day at Pineapple, and you're
Mhm.
dripping with sweat, and you've made some new friends, and then it's all gone in an instant, and then you get back up and you've got to go back into the same audition process and start again. And it can be incredibly difficult and very demoralizing. And one day you get through the dance, and the next day you get through the singing, and the next day the acting, and you question daily, well, I got through yesterday, and I got a recall for Cats, or I got a recall for Les Mis, but why am I not getting any further? And you break it all down, and eventually you can go absolutely crazy if you don't understand that the process is, as you just quite rightly said, in yourself, is finding the love from within. And a lot of entertainers, they find the stage because they're searching for love, I think.
Yeah.
Somebody loved me, certainly as a stand-up comedian
Mhm.
in my later life. Somebody loved me because I don't love myself, and if I keep telling these jokes at some point, and also the audience applause, Joe, would you agree? A
Oh,
rapturous
100%.
applause is very
Mhm.
addictive.
Yeah. And there's energy there too. I mean, again, when I've, in my journey, when I've let go of that, needing it for,
Yes.
acceptance and all that stuff, there's just so much joy in seeing people have fun in the audience in the theater. And it's just a different energy that's being
Yes.
created, right? There's no desperation anymore. There's no grabbing onto it. It's just that pure
Yes.
love for the art that we do. And to
Yeah.
be in that space is just a privilege. Yeah.
Of course it is. Absolutely, Joe. And some of that, I have to say, does come with age, I'm sure. But many people perhaps haven't been able to unpack, and they're still sort of treading the boards and struggling in
Mhm.
terms of internal feelings. And that always saddens me when I see people on socials or in productions who are struggling internally because they haven't yet unpacked that you can't get your love from an audience of people who don't know you, who are some of whom may be there to judge. Many usually are there to support, but you can't get your love that way. You have to find that love internally. Nobody else can do that for you. And part of that comes with tipping out your traumas, tipping out your fears, your frustrations, your anxieties, your anything that's repressed. And then, as you quite rightly said, putting yourself and your world back together again in a much more coherent, peaceful way, which is obviously what you have also brilliantly achieved, because you're now and we're going to go back in time with your permission, but you're now doing what's the products that you are working with, Joe, that are very healing for you?
Yeah, so I recognize I've done a lot of healing in my mind and spirit, and I recognize, at the age I am now, going through the menopause and change like that a few years ago, that my physical health wasn't at its best. And so I was going through some health issues. And for me, it's all about marrying mind, body, and spirit together.
Yeah.
And I am very active. I teach dance, 4 evenings a week. I'm physically active, but internally I was like not feeling right. And to take a step back and look at my physical health was a option, something that I needed. I wouldn't say an option, but something I needed. And a good friend of mine had been selling Arbonne products, which is a nutrition and skincare line. And she recommended that I try some of the nutrition products, which really focuses on your gut health. And along with that, there comes a whole wealth of information about why is your gut so important. And I had no idea back then. I do now, because I'm educating myself all the time, and the education that comes with, using these products, that our gut microbiome is basically runs our whole system inside, right? And if your gut isn't in a good way, pretty much none of your systems are going to be in a good way. And the biggest one for me was because I'm doing all this work. I'm unpacking, but there was still a shift in my mental health that I was still not feeling great. And the reality was, it was my gut, because our gut is responsible for 95% of our serotonin production. 95, that's huge. That's nearly all of it, right? And also 70% of our immune system production is developed in the gut. So I took a step back of what I was putting into my body, and just realized that I needed to make a shift there. So these fabulous Arbonne products, which are 100% clean, there's no toxins, they are third-party tested, they're sustainable, they are vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO, all the certifications that you want, PETA certified, no animal byproducts at all. And you're not getting any fillers, no fructose, no, none of the crap that's in stuff. So I started taking these products, like a supplement, a green supplement and a gut health supplement, and it's called Skin Elixir, but it's got hyaluronic acid and vitamin C and biotin. So all of this stuff helps your insides. So I started on that, and I did a 30-day, what we call a reset, and I just started to feel amazing. I just started to feel, I knew I was healing from the inside out. I knew that these products were really helping what I'd already been doing with my talk therapy and my coaching and, my journaling and my affirmations. My body needed to heal also internally in my digestion and my gut. So I just started using these products. I started feeling amazing, and people started to notice. They're like, you look great. Your skin is glowing. What are you doing different? And what I found was I just had more clarity in my mind, and my anxiety, because I still suffered with anxiety. So all of the work that I did, anxiety was still an issue for me. The thoughts that would run around, even going to work, my job that I absolutely loved, going to work, the thought of it was sometimes so overwhelming, even though when I got there, I knew I'd be okay. But it's, again, showing up how people need me to show up is sometimes really hard when you're somebody that's introverted, actually. And I think as performers, we become really good at pretending, right? So my anxiety still was playing games with me. And I do believe alcohol contributed to that too. I've now been sober since September. And I never really had an alcohol problem, what I say, but I did use alcohol a lot socially, and definitely use it if I was stressed out or whatever. I'd have a glass of wine. And I noticed how by eliminating alcohol and taking care of my gut, my anxiety just started not being there anymore. So there was a new clarity in my mind, in my thoughts.
Because alcohol's a huge toxin. Huge.
Yes,
It's
huge.
I've said this on another podcast with another wonderful lady like yourself. We talked about the gut also, and how alcohol it's would you like, what's your poison, they say at the bar?
Yeah, it literally is.
Because it is poison.
Yeah.
Mm.
And, you know, your gut microbiome needs bacteria, good and bad, and flora to actually work properly. And alcohol is like putting an antibacterial wipe. Oh, here's Lily.
Oh, okay.
Antibacterial wipe on your gut and wiping all of that good and bad bacteria away. So every time you have a drink, you're eliminating all of the bacteria that your gut needs. And that's why all like antibacterial stuff is just really bad for you. It's so toxic because we have microbiome bacteria on our hands, in our nose, in our mouth. And so anytime you're drinking stuff that wipes it away, you're actually really being detrimental to your gut and your microbiome, which now, again, it's the buzzword, I know, but it's all there. It's all facts, right? So this information is out now more than ever. So the products I use help populate my gut microbiome. The greens that I take help feed that gut bacteria, and the polyphenols help my gut healthy. The hyaluronic acid and the CoQ10 help my joints and my bones, and also help the gut lining. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I use. And anyways, going back to, people started noticing and they're asking, oh, what are you doing? And then I would share. And then my friend who, you know, recommended the products to me, she said, you know, you could earn money off this, right? You know, if you become a consultant, you could now earn some money from commissions. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, sounds good. Because I've got my job and I love my job. I didn't really want to work anymore. And then it just started to grow from there. And I've slowly and surely, I'm building my business. I've got customers and clients here in Canada, in the UK. I can have them in the US too. I can have them in Australia. I can have them in New Zealand. I can have them in Poland. So I'm looking to, you know, open my business, expand. And for me, it's the whole, you know, bringing people in that are looking for that healing from the inside out. So mind, body, and spirit. Because I bring in my coaching experience and that side of me too. On Instagram, I'm always posting every day about, you know, different thoughts and feelings that are going on. And it just marries well with my journey in healing. These products just sort of blend in so holistically with them. So it's fantastic. And they also have skin and body care too, which are no toxins, completely clean. So again, every day we're hearing more and more about plastics in our environment, plastics in our food. You know, notice I'm drinking from a glass. No.
Oh, I was just going to say, just show us what you're drinking there, Jo. Just hold that up again and just explain what it is that's in there, because I see you on socials with these drinks and they look so exciting. If anybody is interested, definitely get in touch with you. And while we're on that, how can people get in touch with you, Jo? And we'll remind everybody at the end as well.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at Jo Kovats, Kovats. We'll put that in the show notes. And also I do have a website that links to my product line, but you can also get in contact with me on by email too, which is my name at gmail.com. So we can put that in the show notes too. So
fantastic. And also Facebook, because obviously that's the platform.
Facebook, and just send me a message, because my Facebook is more private. Instagram is open. So anybody can follow me on Instagram. I sort of reserve Facebook for family stuff still. So
fine.
That's not a public.
So more Instagram. That's fine. That's no problem. And just show us, Jo. At this point, I want you to just show us this drink, if you don't mind, and tell us what's in it, Jo. It looks very delicious.
This is my so as we age, you know, there's a lot of info out there about coffee. I've never been a huge coffee drinker anyway, but you know, if you get a really good coffee, it can be really healthy for you. But coffee is super acidic, and it can disrupt our gut and stuff like that. So
and it's got caffeine. The other thing is caffeine, which just makes you go sky high. So, you know, there's a lot of false sort of product information out there about what we are actually consuming, and so you and I have had to do our own homework. Yeah,
you have to know what you're taking, right? So this is called Energy Fizz, and this is what I use for a gentle energy boost versus drinking a coffee, which always just makes me spike and then crash. Coffee is never really sort of jived with me. A regular cup of coffee, I think, has about 240 grams of caffeine in it. And unfortunately, the coffee beans that are sort of mass produced now have mycotoxins in them, which are very, very harmful for you. And drinking coffee at the wrong time of day, drinking coffee on an empty stomach, is very acidic for you. So you want to, if you do drink coffee, just little FYI, have it later in the day after you've had something to eat. And again, we want to limit the amount of coffee that we're drinking. And it really isn't great for women going through hormonal changes. Okay, so there's that too. So these are called Energy Fizz. And these are little packs of effervescent powder that you can put into your water. And what is in here, you do have caffeine, but only 55 milligrams, which is derived from green tea and guarana. So it's a more natural caffeine, and it gives you a gentle energy boost versus that spike. Yes. You've got the 3 B vitamins in here, so that helps with your energy too. So natural, clean energy source, right? So 3 B vitamins. Which also helps with your immune system as well. You've got CoQ10, which is an antioxidant. Yep. So antioxidant, again, great for your internal organs. And then it's also got ginseng in it. So again, a natural energy boost. So this is a really nice, clean energy. You just add it to water. I just sip it. I usually have one in the morning. And then I work in the evening, so I leave in the afternoon. So I leave home at 3 and I work until about 9:30 at night. So I have one of these before I go to work too, to get me through the evening, because my day still starts at 6 a.m. I'm not somebody that doesn't wake up till 2 and then goes to work at 3. I am busy. Like, I'm out, I'm doing stuff. I'm sort of running this business too. So I will have a little energy boost before I go in. So this is the Energy Fizz. So that's just one of the products, and it's very, very popular. Again, lots of people switch these out instead of coffee, or instead of at certain times of the day. And again, lots of people that drink energy drinks, they're full of sugar, they're full of artificial ingredients, they're full of toxins. This is a great switch. Like, my husband used to drink Monster energy drinks, which are so bad for you. Thank goodness he now drinks these instead, which is cleaner and 0 toxins and very, very low sugar. Like, it's like 2 grams of sugar or something.
And they look quite refreshing as well. So it's like a juice boost. Is that
delicious?
Yeah. It looks lovely. And so whilst you're talking about the products that you are currently promoting as well, can you angle your camera to those products, Jo, that you had, and the audience can see, and just take us through a few of those if you can.
Yeah, I'll start with the most popular combo that we have. Actually, one of them is and this is a 3-in-1 here. So like I said, like, knowing our gut is really important. We have this amazing greens powder. Like, there's lots of green powders on the market, but Arbonne's one is, you get what you get. There's actually 36 different fruits and veggies in here, absolutely no fillers. And the way it's processed down, it's dehydrated at a low temperature, so you get a full 36 for serving. So this is a great greens powder. Then we have the gut health, which is the pre and probiotic with the 16 digestive enzymes. So this is going to help your gut with its healthy bacteria, and you've got digestive enzymes in there, which helps your digestion. One I don't have here is the skin elixir, which is the hyaluronic acid, vitamin C to help your own skin build its collagen. And
which, by the way, people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, like myself, we have a lack of collagen. So particularly with this reaching millions missing, the people with ME, there's a lot of people who have secondary gut issues. It's one of the most prevalent things with this particular condition. And with Ehlers-Danlos, hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, you have a lack of collagen. So these products, I have to say, for anybody that's going through any disease state, because these will outreach anybody, but most importantly, particularly for the ME community and fibromyalgia and Ehlers-Danlos like myself, I think these products may be absolutely beneficial to people who are maybe taking supplements which contain plastic. You've got to be very careful. I think when I had my gut tested in America, I think it was 97% plastic, and of plastic, of course. And yeah, there was 2/3 of my gut was damaged, and that's from lots and lots of different high levels of toxins. And of course, that's a lot of the gut to be not working. But with ME particular, because the drainage mechanism, Joe, is backflowing, all the toxins, if you like, are not being eliminated. That is part of the main condition of our health, that we are not detoxifying. So all the toxins pump backwards up into the brain instead of out of the system. So you can imagine the gut problems and issues if you haven't detoxified, and in my case 39 years before I collapsed. So it's so important. I want to encourage anybody today in this little segment, which is like the shopping channel, which I love. With Joe, you're in very, very good, safe hands, because as we get to hear a bit more about Joe and your past, you'll be able to share with people why this is important, because it's so important that people understand our gut is our second brain, and I often call it the first, in fairness, because we don't think that the acidic gut, which comes from the fast food perhaps, or the sugar. I was addicted to sugar. I'm sure you were as well. It was a case of bag of minstrels after a Jessie J show, and on a Friday night, and I didn't have time to eat. So sporadic eating patterns can also create, I'm sure you agree, an altered gut biome and an acidic state. And eventually, when you are high flying, particularly with ME in particular, undiagnosed, you either put on a lot of extra pounds, or in my case, I became anorexic. And when you are in that state, I'm afraid, I nearly died. So it's so important that we need early diagnosis with Dr. Perrin for the treatment of ME, but also alongside a modality like that, the Perrin technique, Joe's incredible gut biome enhancing products are just fantastic as a first reaching out point, because obviously we need to also correct our diet. Would you agree, Joe? So on top of it, go on, tell us about that.
Yeah, the 30 days that I actually started with, which is the Arbonne 30 days, which we call now the Thrive, was an elimination diet. It starts with you eliminate sugar, alcohol, gluten, dairy, all the things that can be triggers for your gut. You've got recipes, you've got these information videos from naturopathic nutritionists, right? Medical doctors too, mindset coaches, and personal trainers. So it works on mind, body, and spirit. So eliminating all those things that could potentially be causing your gut issue, reintroducing whole foods, right? Being mindful of your whole foods. And what I realized was I wasn't eating enough. I wasn't eating enough carbs, and I wasn't even eating enough protein. Protein is huge for women too. And so I got re-educated, because I thought, oh, don't eat the carbs and a small piece of protein, lots of veggies over here. But I was actually malnourished. I wasn't eating enough food. So that was a huge education piece for me. Yes, you have to eat the right carbs, low glycemic carbs, because we're also looking at not spiking your insulin at certain times of the day, but healthy carbs are there. We can have yams, and we can have white potato, just a certain amount. We can have basmati rice, all this stuff we can eat. We just got to know, not too much. It's not going to be half your plate. You look at it as the plate. You've got your carbs, you've got your protein, then you've got your veggies, right? So that was 100%. A huge education piece. And then the healing of the gut, getting your 36 fruits and veggies in by this amazing clean protein powder, gut probiotics, digestive enzymes, then the skin elixir. So going back to the collagen, it's really important to know that our bodies do not know how to process animal collagen, and most collagen products out there are animal based. So in the skin elixir, which is the Arbonne collagen booster, it's got vitamin C, which helps your body build its own collagen, because we actually stop producing collagen after the age of 20. Okay. Right, the hyaluronic acid in there helps the moisturizer. So this is all about the skin, but it helps your gut lining too, right? The hyaluronic acid and biotin help your joints. My dog, I was giving her a probiotic, and I looked at the ingredients, and it was really expensive for like a month's supply. And this had the same ingredients but without the crap for her. So this has been vet approved. I actually give one of these because she's a big girl. She's 85 pounds. One of these to my dog every day because it was the same ingredients, but the fillers that were in the dog stuff were huge. And the dog stuff was 3 times more expensive than this. So there's that. There's lots of different ways you can order this stuff. There's lots of education piece out there, but again, if you contact me, I can point you in the right direction. And what I want to say about these fizz sticks too is that they create alkalinity in your gut. You were talking about the acid. These are going to create alkalinity, which is a bonus for us trying to get rid of the acid in the gut. Then this is just the nutrition stuff. And then if we look at their skincare, right? All of their skincare comes in their glass containers. There is no toxin in here. It's completely clean. There's no gasoline byproducts, mineral oil. It comes from the gasoline industry, right? Petroleum, Vaseline, you all know that. Do not put it on your skin. It is poison. We've got a great baby line that's just with essential oils, like natural products. So no toxins, no animal byproducts, no gasoline byproducts, clean. And one thing else I want to add, Arbonne is a B Corp certified company. Now, only 0.002% of companies globally have that certification. It's really hard to get because Arbonne is following all of the rules, I guess, out there in clean living, and they're hitting the targets every time. And Arbonne is the highest scoring B Corp company in the wellness sector, and that's something that we are very, very, very proud of. So
that's incredible, Jo. That is so good because I learned unpacking that even what's considered chemical-free products, they're not. And when I learned that eyeshadow, and I was a makeup artist in London for a period of time, I learned eyeshadow had silicone in it. Even in the products that I was told were chemical free, these things are imperative, and also in particular to the ME community again, because I've got something called mast cell activation syndrome. So I now can't wear makeup at all, but it's not that I can't wear it, Jo. It's that I have a very severe allergic reaction to any poisonous product. So I consider myself a superhero. So if I go swimming and there's chlorine, of course, that's it. I can't breathe and my eyes burn. And that's a tragedy to happen. But Dr. Perrin, as a neuroscientist, explained that when the body becomes so incredibly toxic, and I had secondary carbon monoxide poisoning from a broken pipe in the kitchen for 10 years, that preluded my collapse. I was painting my entire house from top to bottom. As you know, I was very highly energetic and lively as a person, and I never rested. There was no balance in my personal schedule at all. And the most important thing, as you quite rightly said, is finding that balance. Looking at your mental health, looking at your physical health, looking at what you can do to realign yourself with nature, which we'll go on to because that's beautiful. That's something that you also share on your daily posts, which is, and living in Canada, my goodness, the forests that you climb through each day with your little dog Lily is just incredible. So thank you for that segment on sharing your products, and we'll do a reminder at the end of how to get in touch with you, because I think in particular, anybody with mast cell activation syndrome, and that is something that does hit people who are very, very poisoned, unfortunately. It means that you're reacting to toothpaste, you're reacting to skin creams, and these types of products that you are telling us about today that have changed your life. In fact, Dr. Sarah Myhill, who is huge in the ME community, she said, if you are not prepared to eat it, then don't put it on your skin. 100%. I thought that was brilliant. Say that again, Jo.
Yeah, 100%. And all of Arbonne products are botanical, backed by science. Wow. So they're all botanical ingredients. And so they are very, very high quality. And because they're only available online, it's a 45-year-old company, and it's only ever been available online. And so to stand that width of time tells you something. So online companies don't last that long unless they're really, really good.
Unless they're hitting the marks. Yeah. Yeah.
They are. And I do believe somebody told me, actually, somebody in the UK said that Kate Winslet actually uses the makeup and the skincare.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
you know, I don't know, maybe that's just whatever, but because it is clean and just saying what you said, like they say there's no, you know, they're not, there's no chemical products in there.
Yeah.
So many companies advertise not tested on animals, which they might not do, but there's still animal byproducts in there.
Yeah.
And I've got a whole list of these chemical names. They're actually derived from animals, what they've taken dead animals off the street or dead animals from the vet that they can't bury in the ground. They render them down to these oils and stuff, and they put them in the product. And so to know that you are using a product that is completely vegan, even certified by PETA, because it has 0 animal byproduct, absolutely no testing on animals, you know,
I think you have. I think you have beautifully explained all of that, Jo, and I think that that's a perfect opportunity for you to share your wisdom and knowledge as well with that particular product, Airborne. And as you say, a lot of celebrities do use it. I heard about that many years ago as well, because it is a product that, as you said, it's not just the drinks, it's also the skin products as well. And once you get into those and a healthy way of life, there's no point drinking that and then having a pint of beer at night. You know, there's just no point. The idea is to learn that actually, not that any ill health is anybody's fault, because it isn't, whether that be mental or physical, but it's looking at yourself and analysing yourself the way I've had to do in the last 11 years and looking at, how did I live my life? Did I ever sit down and read a book? I didn't have time. And suddenly I had 8 years to write my own book. So once you start taking care of yourself from the inside and you stop worrying about the outside, which is exactly the same journey we've both been on, Jo, which is lovely. Once you take away all of that distraction, the external distractions, then suddenly you start to replenish yourself. And when you do that, as you quite rightly said, your gut, which takes quite some time to repair, from somebody with a 2/3 of a gut analysis being off, that's been quite a journey for me. And I don't want any other person to ever end up bedbound, unable to turn their head on a pillow from nowhere, which is what my book's about. I want people to be encouraged to look at different modalities, which is the purpose of today's channel, and listen to different people's experiences in entertainment, in health, and you epitomise both of those today, Jo, and hear how wonderful it is to go on stage, but actually, are you looking after your health at the same time? And most entertainers, I have to say, are not. I'm not saying that some aren't, but I'm saying, you know, most entertainers, they are so focused on the final product and getting the wig on and the costume and the makeup and all of those things. We're not thinking, are we, Jo? Is this lipstick toxic? We're not thinking that.
Okay. She's a bit nervous to come. She's like, why? What's happening?
Oh, do you pick her up, Jo? Are you able to pick her up just for a minute? It will be a lovely moment. Oh, look. Right, let's see. Hello, Lily. Hello, Lily. Should we give you a little wave? This is Tinker. This is Tinker. Can you see Lily?
Hello.
Look. Hello, beautiful.
Let's try and get down here.
Oh, there you go. Look. Hello, Lily. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Oh,
she's a Bernese Mountain Dog, and she's about 85 pounds, and she does think she's a lap dog, and she sits on my lap. If I was on the sofa, she'd be sitting on my lap right now.
Oh, and at this time of night, she's probably thinking, why am I not doing it?
Well, it's 11 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, of course it is, Jo. It's in the morning for you.
There you go. Hi.
Look at that. Oh, she's gorgeous. And I've seen you walking in the forest together. It's amazing. It's amazing. And this, Jo, let me just say, this is my co-host, Tinker. He's in his 17th year. 17th year. So this is Jo. This is my friend Jo. Oh, and can you give us, oh, he's fast asleep. He's actually still asleep, but he looks like he's awake.
Bless him. Oh.
So I'll just give him a cuddle down here. But an absolute joy to meet Lily there in person, of course. And so You are absolutely right that Lily's and Tinker's gut health is magnified once we start making changes for ourselves. Would you agree? Then we start unpacking, hang on a minute, if this is working for me, how is this also influencing my animals as well? And how can we improve their gut health? Because that's your longevity of life. And a lot of people said to me, well, Tinker's a Yorkshire Terrier, he should be surviving. But actually, Tinker, once I stopped giving him biscuits and things, which I didn't know about, after the age of 6, his entire diet changed, because that's when we both found that we've both been poisoned with carbon monoxide in my home, you see, from a broken pipe. And so straight after that, enormous changes were made immediately. And I had a brilliant vet, Jo, who was very much into alternative healing. And she was saying, get a toothbrush. And so I brushed Tinker's teeth every night and things like that, because our teeth are the first sign in our body, as you know, of decay and of disease. And when I collapsed, I had 4 teeth removed at the back and things like that, because obviously the buildup of poison, particularly, and tonsillitis, you'll probably remember recurrent tonsillitis all my life, 25 years of tonsillitis. I have never even had a sore throat or a cold in the last 5 or 6 years. Nothing.
Amazing.
At a time where the whole world was, going under different circumstances, and yet, and again, that is attributed to an incredibly clean diet, obviously detoxification. I'm able to detoxify now, and the Perrin technique does that. But also, as you've just quite rightly said, a very healthy gut biome that's only getting cleaner and cleaner. And it's like cleaning a car out. You wouldn't, I once did a promotion, because you and I used to do promotion jobs, didn't we? Do you remember? And I once promoted Optimax petrol. I had no idea I was sat next to Michael Schumacher until my boyfriend Mark said, just to let you know, on that photo, it's Michael Schumacher. Which is hilarious, because I was quite ignorant of all of that. But the point is, as I was promoting this Optimax petrol, I went to a big London conference with all of the roadies, predominantly male, and they all were talking about the importance of cleaning the engine. Well, we think about cleaning the engine in a car. We think about washing our car and making it look, again, the external. We think about how does our hair look. Hair dye is another incredible discovery for me, where Dr. Sarah Myhill has explained as well. The gut can contain ammonia from hair dye and things. So all these things that we put into our head, we never think about it, or on our eyes with eyeshadow, we never think about it absorbing into the body and the brain and down the throat. So if I wear makeup now, my throat flares, because I can feel metals and things, because there's heavy metals in these products also, coming down the throat. So it's incredible if we start taking stock. So you take us on your journey with that. What's your thoughts with that, Jo?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is our skin is our biggest organ, right? So imagine if you had your heart on the outside of your body and you could see the fat and the all the stuff clogging it, you would do something about it. Unfortunately, we can't see that. Sometimes we do have allergic reactions, something might make us react, but generally we cannot see what these products are doing when we put them on our skin. And now, because of the research, I mean, they're finding plastics in newborn babies, right? Because it's going from the mother into the unborn child. And that's not, necessarily from containers, it's in our water. You talked about heavy metals, even organic food now. We're processing so much food now that it's impossible to get the old nourishment that we used to, right? So people might, and this is why we promote the greens, because you might be eating lots of different fruits and vegetables, but the quality of them isn't like it used to be, right? There's a lot of things on social media now, like what's a product used to be like back then compared to what it is now, the amount of toxins that they have put in it because they're mass producing these things more and more, right? So something that you might go get your bag of carrots from the grocery store, but how many carrots have had to be produced to make it to supply the world, right?
Yes.
The quality of the food just isn't the same anymore. We're farming too quick, so the soil is just isn't a good quality, so we're not getting good produce anymore. So when you've got a greens powder that is 36 different fruits and vegetables, that is clean, like, so they just did a study. I have to tell you, you talked about metals in the earth. Now they are in the earth, but there's more and more coming into our earth and our soil, right? And lots of these products we use have heavy metals in them. So if you have a company that not only tests for those metals, they get in third-party tested, and they are 100 times lower than the lowest allowed, that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So 100 times lower than the lowest legal allowed limit,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so
Amazing.
that's the product I want to put in my body, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't wrap yourself up in bubble wrap. You can't. We live in a toxic world. But you can do the best that you can, knowing that when I put this cream on my face every single day from a glass container, there is like no toxic animal byproducts, products from the petroleum industry. It's safe, it's third-party tested, all the things. I know that product is safe for me to use.
The great test really would be the ME community, I have to say, because we are so poisoned. That's what ME is. It's toxic poisoning of the brain and spine, and inflammation, I should say, of the spine and brain. And of course, we have such hypersensitive reactions to stimuli. I can collapse in loud music, sadly. It's such a shame, because the cell membrane surrounding the brain has been so damaged, unfortunately, that this has been the new discovery in Copenhagen, 2024 was it, or 23, and they discovered that that cell membrane is one cell deep that protects the brain, and of course if that gets damaged irreparably, that might explain, Dr. Perrin says, might explain why a subset of patients like me don't get fully better. All these products that we use on a daily basis, when we're biting something, when we're eating something, of course, where's it going to go? It's going to go into the ears. And so we don't realize that what we're eating and swallowing is absolutely going to go into all the parts of the body. And that's why when you start putting all the great stuff in, you come alive. And I bet you felt a fundamental difference, as I have. So what you're saying is all these different products that we use, the great thing about your company there is that you basically have the ability to help other people to regain that balanced gut microbiome and replenish. And this isn't just an overnight fix. This is for life. Once we make these massive shifts, we don't want to go back. Why would we want to put something that we know to be toxic into our body? We wouldn't want to. And so I'm so proud of you. You said that last September you gave up alcohol. Is that right, Jo?
Yep. I'd been flirting with it since I'd started this Thrive, like in 30 days, since I took a look, since I'd started educating myself on the importance of our gut health, and just really doing a deep dive on my physical health, like internally. And just really, alcohol has been a way for me to feel comfortable in certain situations. I definitely used it as a numbing agent over the years. And I just didn't like how I felt with it anymore. It just wasn't making me feel good. And so on the 30 days, you do eliminate alcohol. So that was my first sort of dive into completely not drinking for a month. And you initially like, oh gosh, can I do it? Yes, you can. I did it. And then I felt great. And then that initial time, I just didn't start again. And then the holidays came round. And again, it's all connected to habits, just like you're eating, right? It's all connected to the habits that you have surrounding certain situations. So what habits do we have over Christmas? We eat high sugar, high fat treats because it was a treat when we were a kid, and we brought that into our adulthood. We socialize, we drink, blah, 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 and that's all good. And then you feel like crap afterwards. But it was Christmas and it's what you do. So that's what we're telling ourselves. So the 30 days it helps you create new daily habits for life. It's not a quick fix. It's absolutely not a diet at all, because we're not telling you to, reduce your calorie intake. It's like just switching your highly processed foods and refined sugars and all the stuff that is causing you to feel crap to whole foods, baking with, bananas and maybe maple syrup and almond flour, not gluten and no refined sugars, right? So it's just making subtle changes, creating new habits to last a long time. It's for it's longevity. For me, this is the long game. This is so I can be a grandma and be able to pick up my grandkids and play with them and go to the park and just live as a healthy life, not
live well,
live
well, Joe. Yeah,
live
long
well, right?
and prosper, but also live well. And
live well, yes,
absolutely.
And so going back to the alcohol thing, what you realize more and more that the alcohol is so attached to habits that we've been sort of trained in, and especially from the UK, drinking is such a social thing. And if you didn't drink, you weren't cool, you weren't accepted, and blah blah blah. So it's been a journey for about 2 years, on and off. Again, certain things would come up, Christmas, and then coming back to the UK, there's habits around that, summertime, patio, rosé all day type vibe. And then I just started reflecting on, how is this serving me now?
Yeah,
I'm actually show up better without alcohol than I do with. I'm super fun. I can dance on the dance floor all night long. I don't need alcohol to do that.
no.
But for years I thought I did, right? And so I slowly just started not drinking for months here and there at a time, that progressed into 2 months, 3 months, whatever. And then last September, after a very, very fun summer, we were in Europe again, and again, lots of alcohol content. I did the 30 days I could do every September. And then I said to myself, this is it, no more. I don't want to drink anymore. So I didn't. And then I got to the Christmas. And then again, there's this like little bit of social pressure, I guess more in my mind than there actually is, because it's been a journey. I'm like, I'll have a glass of wine with Christmas dinner. I felt like crap from one glass of wine. And it just really made me realize, no, I don't need it. Why? Yes, there is, thinking about, when we go on our vacation, my husband and I go into South Africa in March, and he wants to go to this wine region. I want to go to look at the beauty. I don't need to drink the wine, right? But there's things attached to these things that we need to step back on. And I listened to a wonderful podcast once with Dr. Chatterjee, and it was like a guy on there, and it's like, we always talk about the bad things, what alcohol is bad for. Let's just flip the switch and say the benefits of not drinking alcohol are feeling great the next day after a party, not missing out on things because you're hungover or you don't feel so good, clarity, like mind fog, your gut microbiome, just feeling better in yourself. So
and alcohol's a depressant as well. That's really important to share. Alcohol is actually a depressant, and it dries out the system, it dries out your skin, it dries out your whole body. And yes, you've got that exhilaration, but as you say, it's an upper and then it's a downer the next day. And you might be able to sustain that. Mark and I have discussed this because we're both teetotal. You might be able to sustain that in your 20s, but as you age, you start to realize, I'd like my maximum time on this planet, thank you. And for the ME community in particular, we are intolerant to alcohol. So that's why I could very rarely drink very much without being very sick right throughout my life. I never knew why, but that was the reason. So in my personal case, I couldn't drink a lot anyway. So the hit that you're feeling now was probably the hit of sickness that I always felt back then, if that makes any sense. And so when I unpack that, Dr. Perrin also says that alcohol fast fires the NMDA receptors in the brain, which give you that massive high. And because in ME patients in particular, and fibromyalgia, those NMDA receptors are already fast firing. So the last thing you want to do if you've got this condition is put more alcohol in. And again, we have sleep issues and lots of other issues. These can, your first step, I would always say, on the ladder to recovery is get rid of your smoking, your alcohol. Those are the two biggest poisons, and in my case carbon monoxide, although it wasn't a conscious thing, and of course paint fumes. So these are the strong, large toxins, large molecules that our body struggles to detoxify as we age, because the drainage mechanism in our body also starts to slow down. So you highlighted the collagen from our 20s is not replenished the way it was, but also our drainage mechanism is compromised as we age, which is interesting. And as our spine starts to change shape, of course, the drainage can't flow as fast, and babies also struggle with drainage as well, which not everybody knows. So babies and elderly are the most vulnerable. They have what's called a slow drainage, and then the ME community, because I have a flat upper thoracic spine, that means it's inverted against my ribs, and my rib cage with secondary Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is really constricted. So breathing, of course, unknowingly, being a singer, was already constricted. So our detoxification opportunities, when you have got structural issues prevalent, are going to be compromised, because the fluid has got to go up the spine, round the brain and out of the body and detoxify. And in ME, it's going like that, because it can't get up the chute of the back of the spine. It makes sense. And it's not going round the skull. So eventually it starts backflowing. So you've got the dual flowing, and therefore, instead of detoxifying, where is it going to go? Well, it's going to go in one of the biggest areas of the body, which is your gut. And eventually it's just going to build and build until you end up collapsing like I did. So to catch that early is the purpose of this channel, because no human being should lose 11 years and the chance to have their own child, as I have lost. I want to now pay it forward and say to people, take control today. Don't wait for something to tip you off the cliff, physically or metaphorically. Take back control today. Have a listen to Joe's story as well. You were in your early 20s. You'd got this grand opportunity on the stage in musical theatre, the dream job in Jekyll and Hyde. And actually, that was your epiphany moment where you just went, oh, okay, right. I'm now going to make some very sensible, logical changes, because this isn't the high that I always thought I was going to have. And there's a lot of sports athletes that go through that as well, tackling life. The rugby player who kicked the ball over the very top, he'd achieved his goal, and then suddenly said, well, what's next? Which kind of resonates with yourself. I'm trying to remember the rugby player's name, but it'll come to me. But yeah, so basically there's lots of people going through different circumstances, and are the products that you were describing, they're available now for everybody all over the world. Is that correct, Joe?
We actually are in 6 countries. So we're in Canada, the United Kingdom, the USA, and Australia, New Zealand, and Poland. Brilliant. But we are going to 2 new countries in the next 2 years. So that's really exciting. I don't know where they are yet, but in any of those countries I mentioned, so I think your people that are watching are mainly in the UK, are they? I'm not sure, but they are, and I can help anybody in the UK. And everything, what I love about it is that there is no middleman. It's me and you. If you wanted to order products, they would come directly to your house.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And thank you, Joe. That's amazing. And on that note, I want to go back in time because we could talk forever. We haven't chatted, have we, for so many decades that this is really constricting our opportunity to share so much. So the great thing here, Joe, is I want to go back in time, and I want to hear a little bit more about you, Joe. Joe Bristow, who then became Joanna Kovats, and just take me back to your childhood, Joe. You were born in Essex, obviously being Anthony Bristow's sister, and just tell me a little bit the essence of you and how you were as a child, Joe.
So born in Essex, Basildon, Leindon, right, and moved around a bit. Well, actually, I was born in Rochford. I wasn't born in Basildon. I was born in Rochford. We actually lived on Canvey Island first, and then we went up to the Lake District because my dad was from there. He's from Whitehaven, and we lived there for a little bit, and then we came back down, and that's when we ended up in like Basildon, Leindon, and that's where I grew up. Essentially, went to school there, and Yeah. Who was I? One
Well,
of four.
you were one of four, and you started dancing. Where did you go dancing, Joe?
Yeah, so yes, of course, the Dance World Stage School in Basildon, which is still there today. They've got so many generations still. Like they've got, so now it would be like they've got, the grandkids of some of the old students go in there now, right? So Pat Finnegan was our principal. She's still, I think she might teach adult classes, but her daughter Carrie has taken over. So it's still a very, very successful, fantastic institution. So that's in Essex, Dance World Stage School. So I started there around 5 or 6. I can't really remember, to be honest. And yeah, just was there my whole life until I was 17. Did all of my exams in ballet, tap, and modern dance.
Yeah.
And actually did my teacher's exams too.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was always the thing. My mom's like, you've been doing this for years, make sure you get your teaching certificate.
Yes,
Which I did. And at that point I had no desire to become a teacher. I just wanted to go dance on stage, right? So
Yeah.
love that. Who was I as a kid? One of four. Me and, as you said, me and my brothers are both all singers and dancers, and we were all in the business in some way or another. And we would put on shows for families, and musical theater was just in our house all of the time. Jesus Christ Superstar was played non-stop. My
Anthony's
brothers
favourite.
yeah, a somewhat obsession with it. And but yeah, I was seemed to be outgoing, but I was an introvert. But I developed that personality where I sort of was the caretaker of everyone. Like my sister was super quiet, and they were my younger brothers, so I just became like the bodyguard for everyone, I feel like, growing up. And yeah, we were pretty close knit, and we still are today. Like, I have a great relationship with my siblings, and miss them because I'm obviously so far away, but I go home whenever I can. And
Yes.
so yeah, and I just have always been a
lovely,
very
Jo.
sensitive person. So
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, and that was evident in our connection as well. And what happened after you were 17, Joe? Because I want to get into a little bit of the colour of what got you to the point, that you now are in today, basically. So after you were 17, where did your life take you next, Joe?
Well, I stayed in Essex for a while. My mum was like, get a proper job, because
Yeah.
dance career might not be the thing. And I'm like, but I just want to dance. So I ended up working at Basildon Hospital and Allsett Hospital in the pharmacy department. I was going to go into school to be a pharmacy technician, but here I am, the creative person that really didn't like school.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I've never liked school. I've never liked the institution of school. I just would be a bit of a dreamer. I did really well in things that I was super interested in, but if I wasn't interested in it, I wasn't. Anyway, so
I'm like that, Joe. I think all of us
Yes.
entertainers would look out the
Yes.
window. What were the subjects you enjoyed? Because I loved English and sports and
I
drama at school.
loved, of course, drama.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
history. Loved history, and I
Did
love
you?
biology. Yeah, I love biology. I love the sciences, actually, except for physics. Yeah, and languages. I've always loved languages, so I really excelled in that. But I just didn't really like to study, because I always just wanted to be on the stage.
Yeah, we don't
And
want to sit
so,
behind a desk. We like dancing,
no,
don't we?
yeah. So did try to give it a go, and basically I basically never went to the one day a week I was supposed to go to college to do my, the educational piece about becoming a pharmacy technician. I thought I would never go, and they just loved me where I worked, and they're like, okay, so obviously if you're not going to go to school, you're not going to get the pharmacy technician. So I just became an assistant, a pharmacy assistant, and I ended up working there for like almost 5 years. But on the weekend,
I didn't know this, Joe.
yes,
Wow.
I know, because I at that time didn't have the courage to go out, and this is where the insecure me really was living then. I didn't have the courage. I would go to auditions, and one no would crumble me. And I had so there's a difference between having a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Because my worth was so on, you have to be the best. When I didn't get something, it was like, oh my God, everything would fall apart. I am terrible. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to make it. And those thoughts just overwhelmed me so much that it was really hard to get back up and go back again. Right. So
Yes.
that was a very slow process. I was, working at the pharmacy, and I enjoyed it, but I just knew it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I was about 19 or 20, a good friend of mine that I danced with at theatre school, at dance school, because my parents couldn't afford to send me to one of the big theatre schools in London. That just never was an option for me. And I think maybe if I had gone, maybe I would have gained more confidence in myself. But I just got lucky because I guess it was just destined for me. My girlfriend, she went to an audition, she got a job to do a contract in Japan, and she's like, someone dropped out, they need one more girl, do you want to do it? And I was like terrified, and I just said yes, not
Good.
knowing what I was getting into. And the next thing I knew, I'm on a plane flying to Japan. First time I'd been away out of the country by myself, outside of going to like Greece with my boyfriend or whatever. And it was, I say that was the turning point in my life of where I just was, I went, and I've never looked back since. It was never easy after that. It was always hard, but I'd made that first step out of regular life, out of the pharmacy, out of living at my mum and dad's.
Yeah.
Right.
You were free. You were suddenly free. Yeah.
Suddenly free, and learned you can do this. And actually, you're really good at this. And because I always had that chip, which stayed with me for the longest time, that I didn't go to the secondary education, like the colleges and stuff like that. And everyone that you're auditioning for, they've got all the credentials from all of these schools. I never had that. So it was a real weight on me of I'm less than. And I say I learned on doing the work. I learned.
You learn on the job, like a tradesman that leaves school. Absolutely, Joe.
On the job training. So I learned working with choreographers. I learned working with other professional performers. I learned working with different musical directors. That's where I learned my extra skills. Yeah. And of course, I had a great education in dance already, and theatre too, because I did go to some other theatre schools while I was at the dance school to get some like acting training and stuff like that, but it was never a full-time thing. So that's how it started for me. So
and just tell us about Japan. What was that, Joe? Was that a big musical show, or what was the production there?
They were different review shows. So we had different sort of themes. There was like, there could be a musical, compilation show, or just a Whitney Houston show or whatever. There were different compilations, and they were in these big theaters, clubs type thing. They were huge, and we were there like in the early 90s, and it was like we were earning so much money. We were just getting money.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a very surreal experience, like for somebody that had never left Europe before to be in this brand new country. What an experience. The people are beautiful, the country is beautiful. I lived there pretty much on and off for 3 years, and just loved it. But again, there was also a side of it where there was lots of learning. I think we should do another podcast one time.
I know, I keep looking at the clock thinking there's not going to be enough time.
No, there's lots to unpack. I've had a very eventful life. I've traveled all over the world. I've worked in so many different countries. And along the way, I've learned so much about myself. And I wouldn't be who I am now without all of it, the good and the bad and the ugly. It makes you who you are today. So I can stand here as an almost 52-year-old woman and be so confident in what I'm sharing with you because it's lived experience, right?
Absolutely,
Joe. And I wouldn't have got that if I hadn't said yes to this one.
I was just going to say, so what would you tell anybody who is feeling this apprehension that you obviously, I didn't even know that you were a, what did you describe yourself earlier? An introvert. I didn't know that you were an introvert, Joe, genuinely, in the time that I knew you in London, because I'm an extrovert naturally. So I have no fear. There was no anxiety. That's why when I collapsed and I was diagnosed with anxiety, I knew that I didn't have that. It wasn't something that was, I suffered from. But I empathize now, and I certainly empathized when I was in a wheelchair, because then you've got anxiety, and when I collapse and go out and things now. So I never understood that feeling until it became, as you just said, a lived experience. And mine has been in this last 11 years of being disabled. I then understood how it felt to be shy, to be underconfident, to be fearful of going out, something I'd never experienced. So I'm actually quite grateful. Very grateful I went through this, because it's been the making of me to understand how it must feel to not have that self-confidence. And so for you personally, although you were confident outside, you said you were very much of an introvert. So just tell us a bit about the anxiety, Jo, because I think that's going to help people. And what would you say to somebody going through that level of anxiety today? I know you've got modalities to heal, but what would you say? Obviously, say yes to things. That's a good start, yeah?
Well, I think for sure, just going back to when you say, a lot of people are like, you really? I was almost living a double life. I think, again, as performers, we're really good at pretending, right? We're really good at pretending everything's okay. But behind closed doors, I would crumble. I had an eating disorder, right? I had bulimia. I used alcohol to, numb and give me what we call Dutch courage, but it was just hiding the insecurities that I had. So what I would say to people is 100%, find the help, find somebody. And again, there are lots of therapists out there. You have to find the one that's right for you. And that might mean going through a few to get the one, and not just a therapist. Maybe a coach is a better way to do it. Like I coach people too, right? So you've got to find what's right for you, just to start talking about it. Don't be shamed. If there's no shame in having some mental health issue or anxiety or depression or being insecure, you just got to figure out who you are and start to be okay with that. And there's so many labels out there, right? I don't want to attach myself to any labels, because I am Jo. I'm just me.
You're Jo. Absolutely.
I'm just me. And that person experiences all of the human behaviors, all of the human emotions. And I used to push away certain parts of my personality because someone somewhere along the line told me that it wasn't acceptable, or that it wasn't enough. And that could be it could be a teacher in our line of work. It could be a choreographer. It could be a musical director. There are so many people in our lives that tell us how we shouldn't be, that we start having shame around that. And it's really letting go of the shame and just owning who you are. And I always say, and I feel like this is a book title coming to me every time, because I talk about it a lot. It's like coming home to you. Coming home to you. And what does that look like? This has been, how old am I? 52. This has been a whole life journey to get to where I am today. It's not an overnight fix. And things come and they go, and you think you're doing okay, and then the universe throws something at you and it chucks you into left field, and you're like, oh my God, I thought I'd worked on this. And then wherever there's a trigger, which is usually shown by anxiety or nervousness, there's work to be done there. Don't see it as something that's wrong with you. You are not somebody that needs to be fixed because you're not broken. It just is something to look at. Why do I feel triggered when? Right? And honoring yourself. Like, I honor the phrase, like we have the phrase FOMO, fear of missing out. I honor the phrase joy of missing out, because I had to be a part of everything, because I needed to feel loved and be a part of things. Now I find joy in missing out, because I'm honoring myself and creating space that I need. Because as a dancer, performer, musical theater performer, and now a teacher, we're constantly giving our energy back. We need to have time in solitude, especially if you're introverted like me, to reboot. It's your social battery, right? And I mean, even being able to have those words around that, my social battery is drained. I'm going to take the time to rejuvenate. And how do I rejuvenate? Walking in nature with my dog, meditating, being with self, doing some inner work. That's how I rejuvenate. Other people, I've got friends that actually recharge by being in a social setting, right? By being with other people. So you have to know who you are. The problem is we got so much shit
Yeah.
in the way of that, right?
And even in the labeling, Joe, because Mark and I have discussed this, even in the labeling of introvert and extrovert, when you unpack what somebody has said those characters are, we then go, well, do I fit in that? Like you just said, I am Cathy, you are Joe. You don't have to fit the box of that. I used to love closing the door after doing, you know, a 6-hour drive and a 2-hour show as Jessie J or a stand-up comic or whatever I was doing, shutting the door at night, just being on my own. Because what I hadn't realized was that I was spending, because I was running a theatre school by day as well, like you are doing, and I hadn't realized that I wasn't spending any time just with myself. Well, I've had 11 years almost, apart from Mark coming in and looking after me, in a lot of solitude. And I would absolutely advocate that. You know, the Buddhist monk that goes and sits in a cave, I welcome that. So what's changed in me is that I absolutely would recharge with others. And now what I find is, because I've been alone for so many years, that's actually a bit too much for me, physically and mentally, actually, because when you've been in cabin fever for quite some time, it's very difficult. So it's very interesting how we do change, but we all have the ability, no matter what besets us in our worlds, to make fundamental positive changes and keep positive. Would you agree with that, Joe?
100%. And be mindful of toxic positivity, because it's okay to feel like crap. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sad. And this is where we get confused, because we're like, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. You are a human being feeling these emotions, but recognize it and learn to process it so you get them out. Like, crying is so cathartic. But we stop ourselves. I shouldn't cry. No, cry.
Get it out.
Along, right?
And it's a way of detoxifying. Crying is actually a way of physically detoxifying, which was absolutely incredible when I learned that from Dr. Perrin. That's why a lot of people who are very toxic, they cry a lot because they're poisoned and the body's trying to excrete. So it's very interesting. And I totally agree with you. You are allowed to have multiple emotions, because one thing I always felt was if my mask dropped and somebody saw me not smiling, and we often become people pleasers, perfectionists, all these things that you and I had to go through, or felt we did. And actually, you are allowed to feel every range of emotion, as you've just highlighted. And that felt very strange to me at the beginning. Did it to you? I mean, anger was something I buried. It wasn't something I ever showed. I would just cry instead. And that then keeps you in almost victim mode. So you've got to allow your body and brain to just tip everything out and allow yourself to feel these unusual reactions, and the ability then to say no, or to set what I call healthy boundaries, because that's so important in recovery. Would you agree?
100%. Healthy boundaries. Oh my gosh. I did the work with I did 3 different courses with somebody that was trained with Brene Brown.
Wow.
And again, that's when I first learned about boundaries. I'm like, oh, I need to have some for myself and for that. Again, healthy boundaries, number 1. And be mindful of the stories that you tell yourself. Your mind, you can go on this great adventure. You can create a whole movie by a story that just is not true. It 100%. Is a figment of your imagination. So be mindful of the stories you tell yourself. That is where anxiety begins. Because, like I said earlier, I used to have anxiety about going to work because I'd start telling myself, well, you have to do this, and is it going to be good enough, and what are they going to, and then I have to stop and no, that's just a story you're telling yourself. Believe in you and stop those thoughts. Again, we could write pages and pages of untrue words.
Negative voice in your head, I called it.
Yes. So we call it, in coaching, we call it your saboteur. I would call it my bitch. She's bitchy. Because also it wants to keep us in the same place. There's some sort of comfort staying there. There's so much discomfort growing sucks sometimes. It hurts, it's painful, but to move forward and let go, we have to face these things that we've created a story about, maybe, but also is our truth, right? Again, who have you become over the years just to please other people?
Yeah.
You've lost your identity. Most of us sometimes don't even know who we are anymore.
Yeah.
So really sitting with it, and I'm doing work right now. I'm on a course right now, and a wonderful coach that I'm working with. She's fantastic. And something just came to me the other day, and it's like, there is healing in the heartbreak.
Yeah.
And so most people can't or don't want to go and face that heartbreak, but it is cathartic, and that there is healing there. That is where you move forward. But we have to sit with that very uncomfortable feeling sometimes to get.
Absolutely. And they say you've got to go through the darkest tunnel. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger said on a podcast recently, I think he had some terrible things happen in his family circumstance. And he basically said, if you don't go through those dark times, then you can't enjoy the light at the other side. You have to go
Yes.
through it. And you're absolutely right. And I think that often is perhaps what keeps people in a state of ill health, whether that be a mental health or a physical condition, because, as you said, they're not able in their mind is stopping them from literally expelling the toxins. And when people detoxify, there's a lot of emotions that come out as well. I'm sure you would agree with me there, because you are the issues are in the tissues. So as you're replenishing with the beautiful products that you've shared with us today, and also a fantastic whole food plant-based diet that I eat, once you replenish your body with the right nutrients, because we're animals, we should be eating the foods that are available, as Dr. Sarah Myhill says, and we've been conditioned to have quick fixes, and we've also been conditioned that you don't show emotion, as you said, quite rightly so. You don't show your emotion, you're stoic. And our parents and their parents didn't have the opportunities, Joe, that you and I have so beautifully been able to grab hold of, with all these fantastic health experts and gurus and support mechanisms that are available to us today. And obviously your gorgeous children ahead as well. And I want to conclude on that. You've got two beautiful children, Daya, and what's your son's name again? Finn, of course, Finn and Daya. And how old are they now, Joe?
Well, Finn is almost 21 and Daya just turned 18. Yeah, I know, it's insane. I can't believe it. I have adult children.
My goodness. And are they in the entertainment? I think your Daya, I was watching because I think she's in dancing.
Daya is a dancer and a musical theatre performer, and she's just stunning to watch. And
Wow.
And then Finn has always played baseball and really loved that. He loves sports, but he's very much into the film industry too. So he gets really intricate when he's watching a movie, the cinematography side of it. So, maybe there's a career there at some point. So
absolutely. And as you said, because they've got this you've got a beautiful family, and because they've got this outpouring of love, and I'm sure they're using the same products as well, particularly your daughter, because once you as a parent make that shift, then it absolutely transcends everybody else. And when we're stuck, and we can all feel stuck, and we can all, as you quite rightly expressed, you had a choice in September, Joe. You could have just done your month, as you did every September, of not drinking. But well done, congratulations to you, because that's huge. Anybody who has found that alcohol is one of their go-tos and then they give that up, I really commend anybody that can do that, because it's extremely difficult, I hear, for people who drink on a daily basis, and it has become a natural conditioned behavior. So for example, I used to be addicted to cereal. I was always somebody who was just having bran flakes for breakfast, for example. My big shift was a plant-based smoothie every single morning without fail, and transitioning to having beetroot, which is great for the gallbladder, and celery, and all these brilliant vitamins in my smoothie every morning without fail. There's just no way that I would go near a cereal box now that I know what I know, because even bran flakes has got 6 to 8 spoons of sugar. And what I thought was healthy, you see, this is the conditioning that we need to unpack. What we think is healthy isn't. And I think you are a huge expert in this, and I think that if anybody listening today would like to contact Joe over in Canada, a gorgeous part of the world to live, and I think you are best placed, Joe, for anybody that wants to in thanks to sharing your story, because by you sharing today's story, Joe, you have encouraged anybody who's listening of any age, I'm sure, to understand what you've been through, what you've achieved, and your huge success in Jekyll and Hyde in Germany, but also, most importantly, the success of unpacking everything, all the traumas, all the discomfort, understanding the gut biome. It's a learned experience of your life journey, and that's what embodies who you are. You've always been a beautiful soul, all of the Bristow family. To me, but it's so lovely to hear that you've gone on this incredible life journey, and with your gorgeous family by your side as well, and long may you continue to have great health and wisdom, innate wisdom that as you say has been gained from a learned experience. And I want you to conclude today by just sharing once again how people can find you, Joe.
Yeah, well, thank you for all of that. Wow, you made my day. It's been such a pleasure to catch up with you, Cathy. And
Thank
so you
you.
can contact me. Well, you can follow along on Instagram at Joe Kovats, and you can message me on there. And I do check my messages. So if you want to contact me that way, my account is open. It's an open account. So that's a great way to get in touch. Or you can email me directly at joannakovats@gmail.com. And I think that's about it, really. And I am, like I say, I am on Facebook, but that's more of a close account just for family. So Instagram for sure, and email.
And fantastic. And if you can't inspire anybody, I don't know who can, because honestly, you've inspired me today as well, Joe. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's been an absolute pleasure reconnecting with you as well. And thank you for your time today. And it's a morning for you, it's an evening for us. But thank you so, so much. And may everybody now be inspired by you moving forwards. Look at your diet, look at your mental health, look at your physical health, and make those changes before it's too late. So one last sort of encouragement from you, Joe, for the world, because this is going to be hitting a lot of traffic everywhere. One last sort of brief encouragement for everybody, why you think people should make those changes immediately.
Yeah, we only have today. We only have this moment right now, so why waste it? And in a day, in an era where there seems to be like cancer diagnosis, like left, right, and center, we never know when our last day on earth is going to be. But just trying to make it count in this moment right now, and doing everything you can to live the best life that you can while we're here. And so that's what I'm all about anyway. Mind, body, and spirit. It all works together. We're all one complete package, right? So looking at all of that, and just loving yourself. Self-care, number one priority. Yeah.
Fantastic, Joe. Well, God bless you. All the very best to all of your family ahead. And I hope to catch up with you again soon. And thank you so much for sharing your story, Joe, on the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast. Thanks again, Joe. See you again soon.
Thank you. Thanks so
Bye-bye,
much.
love. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.